Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Josh Knutson with Bytespeed. We're running kind of an open forum on esports in South Dakota today. Really appreciate those of you who are able to join us live and those of you that are watching on the YouTube channel after the fact. If anybody that is attending live has any questions or comments, we'd love to see those in the Q&A or the chat down below. And if you are watching the YouTube recording, please feel free to dump those in the comments below. We'd love to connect with you and kind of go back and forth through that and be able to make sure that you have your questions answered. Like I said, today is just more of like a very informal kind of open forum on esports in South Dakota. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the relevance of esports in the scholastic environment. And I've just got a brief presentation to go through. And then I think we might even be able to have Mike Goring, who actually runs a program at Dual High School here in South Dakota, be able to jump on and kind of talk to you guys about his esports journey. That is, super last minute add to the programming note for today, but we'll try and get everything wrapped up in about 45 minutes here and have just a really good informational session on esports and what it can do. So with that, I am going to share my screen here. And I want to grab this guy right here. So we're just gonna real quick to start things out today, talk about the relevance of esports in the K-12 environment. Esports as we know it has been really kind of taken off over the last 5-6 years in the collegiate world, and scholastic is no different. We've seen literally hundreds, if not thousands, of programs get started here since 2015 for a ton of different reasons. And we're going to talk about, 4 of those main ones today. Just real quick introduction for myself. My name is Josh Knutson. I'm the Esports and VR Solutions Director for Bytespeed. I've been in this role since 2019. I joined in the spring of that year after a 3.5-year coaching stint at the University of Jamestown up in North Dakota. So started and ran one of the first 20 varsity level programs across the US and Canada, was a Bytespeed customer and joined the team here, like I said, in spring of 2019. So it's been 3 years already, which is kind of crazy. And we've helped 700 different customers in the 3.5 years I've been here, with starting their own program. So that's kind of an amazing achievement and able to say that we've helped a lot of folks out. Just the last real quick thing about my bio here, I am a NACAD advisory board member. NACAD stands for the National Association of Esports Coaches and Directors. It's a really good professional development organization that is focused on helping new programs get the resources they need, the information they need to be successful. So they've kind of got like a Netflix style model where with your membership, you can log in and participate in, I think we've got over 100 courses now. They're all about an hour long. They're kind of in like that masterclass style format where it's a video that you can watch, and then there's a PowerPoint presentation and notes that you can follow along with, and then like a short quiz to kind of see what you retain from the presentation. And that covers a whole bunch of different topics, everything from how do you build a facility? How do you, watch out for your students' mental health? Even just how to coach a game better. So tons of great information there, and I highly recommend NACAD as a group to get involved with, whether you're a new or existing program. If at any point, we don't cover everything that you're wondering about, or you have questions after the fact, please feel free to reach out. My contact info is on screen. I'll throw that up there again at the end of the webinar. Please feel free to shoot us an email, give me a call, send me a text, whatever you're comfortable with. Would love to make sure that you've got all the information that you need and that you're able to get the questions answered that you might have, or kind of work through some of the things that are maybe holding you guys back from starting your own programs. So feel free to get in touch with us after the webinar. So why should we care about esports in the first place? I think this is a really great place to start. And I think, if we look at South Dakota as a whole, we might be a little bit farther behind some of the other states in the Midwest that have really embraced esports as an activity. But that doesn't mean that there's not a really great potential here in the state of South Dakota to start programs and to really build something incredible for our students. So, why should we care about this in the first place? Just, the fact that it's as popular as it is, and it's going to resonate and be appealing to so many students is a huge thing. For a really long time, we've had traditional athletics and fine arts and other activities and sports that students can get involved with. But there's a good chunk of students that kind of fall in between the athletics and the fine arts kind of thing that haven't really had anything that they're really passionate about in the school. But a lot of those students could really resonate with esports. A lot of students nowadays in the high school world are gaming, whether it's on their phone, on a console at home, at a PC. It can take a lot of different shapes and forms. But a lot of your students in your school right now are gamers. And this would be a really cool activity and a really cool opportunity for them to get involved in ways that they haven't been able to in the past. You'd be surprised at kind of the demographic of students that would, find value in joining an esports program. And like I said, it opens a lot of opportunities for students in four really kind of distinct ways. And we'll talk about each one of these here in a second. And those being social, competitive, academic, and professional. This goes a lot farther beyond just, sitting in a classroom playing video games. There's a lot of really good social skills and outlets for competition and things like that are able to benefit our students in a really impactful and meaningful way. So let's talk about each one, and we'll start with social. By far and large, if you look at nationwide at the K-12 level, the reason why schools are starting esports programs is to build a sense of community for those students, to give them an activity that they can, resonate with, be involved with, and be passionate about, and have kind of ownership of their education. Building that sense of community, building a retention tool to be able to keep students in school and active, like I said, in their education. There's a lot of really great social skills that come from being a part of a team or a extracurricular activity. And we've seen these, with sports and fine arts and all the kind of the traditional models time and time again. A lot of those soft skills like communication, critical thinking, teamwork, just even being able to interact with students of their peer groups that they might not have before. All of those really very, very important social and emotional skills come from activities in general, and esports is no different. So that kind of building community, building opportunities for students to get involved with each other and be able to interact with each other and find a home in the school is really, the biggest, that engagement piece is really the biggest reason why schools all over the country are starting programs today. And this can look, a number of different ways. You can have an esports program that functions very much like a competitive sports team, or it could be, more of a club activity that's, after school a couple days a week or a couple times a month. It could be, something that is very, very much driven by the interests of the students. And that's okay. It can look very different from school to school to school. And that's, like I said, a really good thing, because all of our schools are different. All of our student populations are different. The needs that we have are going to be unique to our schools. And esports can fill a gap in a really meaningful way, no matter what it looks like in the school. So beyond the social stuff, like I said, there's definitely a competitive aspect to esports. Right now, 14 states nationwide have kind of statewide organizations that are devoted to running competitive seasons throughout the year. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Missouri, Nebraska, just a couple other states in the Midwest that have really flourishing communities of schools across the state that are competing in a number of different titles throughout the seasons, throughout the year. And a lot of competitive opportunities out there to be able to say, okay, my high school, I've got, this small school, but we're being able to play, like a Rapid City or a Sioux Falls, where we might not, play them in sports, but we'd be able to have an opportunity to play for a state championship, so to speak. And there's, states that are doing a really good job right now of providing opportunities to network and be able to play other schools from across the state, just like we see in traditional sports. The cool thing about esports is those competitive opportunities open up as soon as you have, as few as 3 students. A lot of the games that are being played right now have a varying size roster. But a game like Rocket League only takes 3 students to be able to form a team and be able to play against another school, whether it's in, the state of South Dakota, or maybe it's outside in the region across across the country. Stuff like Super Smash Brothers, if it's a one-on-one singles tournament, all you need is 1 student to be able to start playing. If it's kind of a team-based, you might need 5. But again, a very small number. We don't need 100 students to fill a football roster to be able to play. We just need, as few as maybe even 1 to 3 students. So it opens up the opportunities very quickly to get involved and start playing in that competitive environment. And this is definitely a competitive outlet for non-traditional student athletes. You might have a student who's really competitive and works really, really hard at, fine-tuning their craft and really cares about playing the game in a highly competitive way. But they're not an athlete. They might not like football or baseball or something that we traditionally associate with competition. But this might be an outlet for those students who have not had a chance to really express themselves and become leaders in a team setting, because like the traditional athletic model doesn't really jive with them. Esports gives them that opportunity, and it's a great way to kind of showcase those skills. And that kind of leads into, before when we talked about community and the social aspect of esports, there's definitely skills from the competitive side that also transfer over, stuff like teamwork, communication, critical thinking, a lot of these soft skills that you see student athletes forming, from very, young ages, if they're involved with like T-ball or, pee-wee hockey or whatever it might be. They get to kind of fine tune these skills from a very young age all the way through, senior year of high school and beyond. There are students who are missing out on those opportunities to grow those skills, and esports can be a way for them to do that. So a lot of cool things from social and competitive aspects of starting an esports program and playing against other schools, or even doing something kind of internally. There's a lot of schools that, there might not be a statewide competition in some places, but, a district can say, we're going to run intramural style competition in-house and be able to say, okay, this group of students is playing this group of students. Maybe it's juniors against seniors, or a mix of 5 over here playing against a mix of 5 over here, and be able to do all of that stuff in-house and still be able to provide opportunities to compete and play and grow those skills. Another really big aspect and benefit of esports is the academic component. There are, not a lot of published information out there, but a group called NASEF did a study not too long ago on some of the kind of the outside benefits to starting an esports program. And through that study, they found that, the schools that had established programs and that had students that, had eligibility requirements, or, kind of like the carrot on the stick motivation kind of to be a part of that esports program, a lot of those students actually did better in the classroom. When you have a traditional athlete who has to maintain a 2.0 or 2.5 GPA throughout the year to stay eligible for basketball, there's a little bit more of that motivation to say, okay, I'm going to pay attention in class, because if I'm not eligible, I don't get to play in our game on Thursday night. The same thing can apply to esports. And actually, those students that NASEF surveyed, actually, we found an increase overall in their GPA from the start of the year to the end of the year because of kind of that motivation to stay eligible. So better grades is definitely a byproduct of having a program up and running. Just kind of side by side in that, attendance and participation in class got better because they need to stay engaged and kind of, like I said, take ownership of their education. So that's a really powerful way that, things are being impacted in the classroom, just kind of by proxy of having an esports team in your school. But there's also schools across the country that are building esports teams with the intent of building them into curriculum, whether it's computer science or journalism or broadcast media or any of the number of different kind of fields that fit really well in kind of the STEM environment of esports. They're actually classes and curriculum resources that you can apply to what you're doing with esports while you're playing the game, but also just kind of in the classroom and learning the skills. We'll talk about professional opportunities in a second, but a lot of the skills that you need for those jobs, you can learn as a student in a high school environment. So there's certainly an academic component to esports that you can build off of and have your students, learn in the classroom environment and take away a lot of really cool things that can be used as hands-on resume building and on-the-job training for later in life. There's also a ton of college opportunities associated with esports. There are schools right now that are giving out scholarships for students to play esports at the collegiate level. I forget what the exact number is now, but it's well above 200 schools across the country. It might actually be closer to 300 now, of higher ed institutions in the US and Canada that are giving scholarships for students to come and play on their roster, to giving scholarships to be a part of the broadcast team or some of the supporting staff, coaches, play-by-play announcers, media people. There are a ton of opportunities for students to follow their passions and go into the collegiate world on a scholarship like we would see for sports or fine arts now. Those opportunities can be applied to esports, which is super, super cool. When I was at University of Jamestown, when I left, we had 32 students on our roster. All were getting esports scholarships of some kind. Our school didn't give full rides, but there are some colleges out there that are doing so. And there are other schools that are giving just small scholarships, but there's opportunity there for our high school students right now to apply for those scholarships, to join those teams, and open the door to higher education, which is super impactful. One of my favorite stories actually from my time coaching at Jamestown, I recruited a student out of the Denver area down in Colorado, and we brought him on campus up to North Dakota in the middle of December, which might not have been the greatest idea in the world, but he's from Colorado, so snow and cold shouldn't have scared him away. But we brought this student to campus, walked through the whole kind of recruiting process. I met with professors on campus, met with me and the esports team, sat down for practice with us, and we ended up extending an offer for a scholarship to him. Which, when he got back to Colorado about a week later, he actually, signed a letter of intent and signed with us and got that scholarship to come to college. And about a week after that kind of process wrapped up of him signing and getting registered for school, his mom called me and she was getting a little choked up because, her son, before the kind of the esports recruiting process, had not ever thought about going to college. Financially, it was going to be a tough sell for their family to be able to support him in going to college. And there wasn't just a big aspiration for him to go and try and get a degree in the higher education world. And through what we did with the esports scholarship, he was actually able to come to campus and actually at the beginning of May here, he actually graduated. So it's just one of my favorite stories of being able to really make a big impact with, a small scholarship that able to open up that door academically for the student to be able to go to college, get a degree, and be set up for life after school. because of esports. So that's a super cool, just kind of anecdote from my time in Jamestown. But that's happening all across the country. And like I said, it's not just for, hey, I'm good at this game, I'm going to come and play and be a starter on my roster. There are schools now that are extending scholarship offers for, like I said, broadcast talent, people that are working in the social media or the coaching world with their esports programs at some of these schools. So there's a ton of opportunity out there, and it's kind of cool to be able to see those doors opening up. And kind of the other thing that goes along hand in hand with the esports stuff and scholarships and in the college world and opportunities for our students is there's actually about a half dozen to a dozen schools right now in the US that have degree programs for esports. It might be a certificate course or an associate's degree. There are some bachelor's degrees that have been developed now to where you can go in to a school and come out with a bachelor's in esports business management or event management with a focus in esports, or there's some schools that have like an esports degree and they talk about the kind of the business side of esports and what happens in that sense. So there's a ton of really cool things happening, opportunities for students beyond just playing the games in both the high school world through classes and curriculum that we can do right now in our schools, and also stuff in the college world for scholarships and other opportunities that way. So a lot is happening beyond just, hey, we're sitting down playing games or we're playing against a school across the state or in a region close by us. And last but not least, as far as the kind of those four main benefits for esports is definitely the professional opportunities. As living example of this, I can say that my job did not exist 4 years ago. And there are a ton of different career fields that are, either tied directly into the esports world or kind of like an ancillary thing that's supporting what esports is happening in the professional environment. And this kind of diagram on screen comes from, and I'm going to butcher this name, so I really apologize, but Nicholas Basambas is kind of is the guy that put this graph together, and it shows the esports related professions, everything that you see kind of up in like the green, area, the top left of this screen. That's kind of like what we immediately think of, head of esports, head coach, performance and physical therapists and trainers and director of sports and stuff like that. Really like the careers that are, okay, I'm directly related to running this esports organization at the professional level. There are 10 I would consider like tier 1 professional teams in North America that have a lot of these like, traditional style coaching or support staff directly related to like the running of a team. And you would see positions like this part of like an NFL team, but instead they're an esports organization with these different positions. But beyond that kind of green section, you see in kind of the yellow, that's event organization and event management, putting together these big LAN tournaments from a small collegiate invite or a small high school invitational that might happen, all the way up to, I'm going to put on the World Series of esports, the World Championships for some game. There was just a Dream Hack event down in Dallas last weekend where, hundreds of people attended from all over the country, all over the world coming in to play in this event and being able to be at something that was really devoted to esports. Then you have all the broadcast staff and professions that go along with like making that event viewable. And like, you're going to have your network architects and engineers, people that are running lights and sound. You're going to have a director running production, and pushing all of this great content out to Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or wherever you might be watching this digital sport take place. Which kind of bleeds into the red and pink areas of like communication and all those jobs that, I went to school for public relations. I could do PR for an esports, related business, running social media or doing web development, PR, just as kind of like a general PR officer. And then, the other business sections on here, you've got commercial and sales and marketing and administration and all that good stuff that are really tied to esports in kind of these kind of secondary ways. And then, of course, at the top of the graph here, you've got entertainment and education. People that are in the classroom right now teaching skills that you need for all these other careers. And that happens at the K-12 level, that happens at the collegiate level, it happens just kind of in the professional world as well. So this is by no means an exhaustive, extensive list that has every single career that's out there listed, but it's a pretty good example of the opportunities that now are out there that, like I said, maybe 4 or 5 years ago didn't exist or weren't taken as seriously as they are now. So there's a ton of opportunities for students to follow their passions and get involved, not only in high school, not only in college, but also, after they have a degree or, have gone into the workforce to be able to really, participate in this big industry. So those are just some of the benefits of esports. Like we said social, competitive, academic, and professional. And these all come from starting, even just a small program at your school. So I just wanted to talk about, like a super quick getting started guide to kind of round out my portion of the webinar here. And then, like I said, I would love to have Mike Goring jump on, just talk about their program for a few minutes. But you might be kind of thinking, okay, this all sounds great. I want these opportunities for our students, but I have no idea how I'm going to do that. So this is kind of like my quick 6 steps to starting an esports program. There's a lot more detail that goes into these, but I just wanted to kind of hit and highlight the main things that you would need to get started. Number 1 is definitely like get your admin on board. You're going to need to talk to somebody at the school that's going to be like your champion for the overall program and say, okay, yes, as a school, we are going to support this and give you the resources you need to get going. That can be a principal, a superintendent, athletic director, IT director, whoever it might be. Somebody at the top that's going to help kind of be your go-to to help leverage other people at the school, at the district, to be able to help you out and finding, all these different pieces to the puzzle. Then you want to identify, your program sponsor, your coach. It does not have to be someone that is a super big gamer to get started, right? I think that's kind of like an intimidating thing for a lot of schools of like, they don't have this gamer at the school or on staff, whether it's a teacher or an IT staff member or somebody like that, to where, they're like, well, I don't really know a lot about the games. So I don't think I should be the coach. To get started, you don't have to be a huge gamer. The biggest thing is you need to be a passionate educator that's going to put the students' needs first and be their kind of go-to to help them solve, the problems that are going to come up. You can learn the games as you go, especially at the high school level. And your students are going to be kind of the X's and O's experts as you kind of start and build out your programs. It definitely helps to know the games, but like I said, you can learn as you go, as long as you're dedicated to helping the students and helping to kind of be the person that they can go to when there's conflict or building out schedules, getting in touch with other teams. There's a lot of kind of that high level administration work and supporting work that you as a coach or a program sponsor can do to be successful. Once you have kind of the team to support you at the admin level and you've got your coach or your program sponsor, you need a space. And I have found, in working with schools all across the country, that esports spaces go in a ton of different places. I've helped schools that, they've just renovated a PC lab that they already have on campus. Maybe it's an engineering lab that they're going to update computers with, or maybe they're doing yearbook or Adobe stuff, Project Lead the Way, whatever it might be, existing kind of lab spaces that they just got gaming computers for, to kind of dual purpose use them. I've seen schools set up and tear down laptops in a cafeteria at the end of the day. There's actually a North Dakota school that does just that up in New Rockford. they actually set up laptops every day and tear them down and store them in the library space. But they don't have a permanent home. So they're in the library, they're in the cafeteria, they're wherever, there's some usable space and internet drops to where they can plug in. That's where they're going, and that's what works for them. I would say, as you're looking through spaces, make sure that power and internet needs are going to be met. Do whatever you can to be on a hardwired internet connection. Please don't try and play on Wi-Fi if you can avoid it. I know not everybody has that opportunity, but if you can plug in, please try and do that with Ethernet. And make sure that, if you plug in 6, 12, 20 devices, plug them into the power outlets, that you're not going to blow power to half the school, because we've seen that happen too. So just kind of make sure that you're talking with facilities, IT, and making sure that your needs are going to be met no matter what space you look into. Then you're going to need to look at hardware, and this can be anything from computers to your traditional desktop computer with high-end parts, to gaming laptops, consoles like a Nintendo Switch, and then maybe you add furniture or other accessories and things like that to your space to kind of really outfit the lab. You can work with a company like Bytespeed. We work with a lot of partners in the space to where, if you've got a blank room, you can really, work with us to kind of decide, okay, here's my computers, here's my accessories, here's my furniture. We've got a blank room to start. And when school starts, with one order, you can be really set up and ready to rock and roll. The needs of hardware for every school are different, but kind of the commonalities that we see from across the country, usually schools are starting kind of in the 10 station mark. That's an average, right? But remember, you need as few as just 3 setups to really start playing in a team environment with something like Rocket League. You could also have, one Nintendo Switch for Super Smash Brothers and start a team or start a club that's going to meet a few times, either a week or a month to play and get your program started. The majority of competition is going to happen on PC. It's the preferred platform. It's where your best kind of specs and performance are going to come from in the long term. But you can start small and build it out over time. And there are plenty of programs that have done just that and have been really successful, where the investment early on was very, very small compared to some of the other programs across the country. Then you're going to want to find out where that participation is going to happen. Like I said, it could be a club night where you're doing intramurals or kind of stuff all internally. It could be a league, either statewide or nationwide, or maybe it's an online tournament or something like that. But you want to find out how and where your students are going to participate and play. If you're lucky enough to be in one of the 14 states out there that have a really good statewide network set up, great. That's easier for you. South Dakota right now does not have something like that from a statewide perspective. However, those 14 states all are volunteer ran. They're educators that are passionate in the state that have kind of said, you know what, we're the ones that are going to put this together. And they have a ton of different resources out there that you can kind of take and model your own programs from just an individual school or district. Or if there's a group of schools in the state that want to really push together and say, you know what, we're going to take ownership of this. There is kind of a blueprint for that. But it's baby steps, right? It's super big baby steps. And you can start in some of the nationwide leagues or even just online tournaments, or create your own stuff. There's no right or wrong way to get involved early on. And that's, a really cool thing for schools to be able to have that flexibility and say, okay, we're not really sure what we're doing, but we can kind of test it out, get that proof of concept. And then maybe in year 2 or year 3, we start to expand out and build something a little bit bigger. And the last thing really is to hold an informational meeting, get your students involved, start meeting as a group, as a school, as a district. And coming up with, what games are we going to play, where, what students are excited about it, what do they want to do in the program, whether it's play those games, be on the broadcast team, do social media or video editing. There's a lot of different roles that students can have, and having an esports program opens the door to a lot of different ways to get involved. And I think you'll be surprised at the number of students that are knocking on your door when you announce that, hey, I'm Josh. our school is starting, Bite Speed High School is starting an esports program. I'm going to be the coach. And then all of a sudden I've got 30 kids knocking at my door on day one that want to, participate and start playing. So that's all I got as far as a formal presentation. I would love to kind of keep this to about a 45-minute deal. So if you have questions, please throw them down in the chat below or in the YouTube comments. Like I said, we'd love to reach out if you're watching this after the fact. Again, my contact information is on screen. Feel free to shoot me a text, give me a call, connect with me on social media. We post a lot of esports stuff on the Gravity Gaming Twitter, and there's a ton of resources on ByteSpeed's website as well. So real quickly, if we can get this to work, Mike, I hate to put you on the spot, but I would love to have you jump in here if I can promote you to a panelist. To maybe just talk about, your program at the high school and kind of your journey real quickly in starting your own program. So I think I've got you as a panelist now. Maybe. And let's see if we can get you going. There we go.
I'm here.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Hi. Going good. Going good.
Awesome. So yeah, I think, as far as South Dakota is concerned, you're probably, grand poobah as far as like, hey, we've had a program for a few years and we've done it. What did that look like in your school?
Oh, this is the fourth year we've done it. It looks a little different every year because you kind of tweak it, everything, This last year we did just League of Legends.
Sure.
Basically for the whole year, and a lot of just in-house stuff, doing different things. Sometimes, we're mixing it up, right? If we're playing the whole year, we got to mix it up some things. We're playing, I'm got probably, just depends on the day, about 15 kids out, I guess, between middle school and high school. So sometimes we'll pick teams. Sometimes we'll go 5-on-5. Sometimes we'll do 3-on-3. Sometimes we'll play no jungle. I know I'm getting some are not going to recognize that, but we just do different things. And like you said, you hit most of it. You don't have to be an expert. I'm not an expert on it. But that's probably the game. League of Legends, if you start, the requirements are so little. Yeah. If you're not sure if you want an esport, that's probably where to start, because I guarantee you just about everyone. I know all the schools have computers that can play this. It's very low. I'm playing Core i5 with, some of the computers with Core i5 with League, Core i5, was it 4th generation Core i5s, 8 gigs of memory, no special video card.
Yeah.
So everyone's got that. And then we mix it up. We actually played Rocket League for a couple weeks this year, and the kids decided, let's go back to League of Legends. So did that. And last year we did like once a month, we switched games. So we went between League of Legends, Rocket League, Fortnite, Smite.
Awesome.
And it went okay, but I think I like what we're doing now. It's just most of the kids really like League of Legends. It's kind of the chess of games, I would say.
Yeah.
So and then my goal is to really get those kids that aren't involved in anything else. That's my really big goal. And I get a lot of those kids, a lot of kids that they go home and play video games with them all the time. And they come here and they're kind of a star.
Yeah.
They're the ones running things, and everything else, they're not. And then they get to improve some of their leadership skills, because they're the ones everyone else is kind of looking up to do stuff,
Definitely.
But yeah, that's it. I am doing it.
The early process of when you guys just started, what were those conversations like with the admin, at your school? Why did you want to start a program, and kind of how did that process go?
Well, it was in the news lately at that time, I remember. And we got all our admin were very supportive. All of them. So it wasn't that hard at all. I did go to the school board, chatted with them a little bit. Not a big deal. They're all pretty supportive. And that's how it went. And then we just, it was us and other school. We kind of got going. We played each other, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And that's what we did. So nothing really special. And we had the biggest thing, another big thing in South Dakota is if you're on the state firewall, you're gonna have to get a lot of ports open. The nice thing is if you're on the FortiGuard, Fortinet firewall stuff, if you're on that, which most schools are, you just tell them, hey, we need the profile for dual, and they'll copy that stuff over, and a lot of that stuff should be fixed, and you should have a lot less hassle of getting stuff set up, because that does take a while till you get all the stuff done. So
awesome. So from your perspective, how many schools in South Dakota have programs up and running, or kind of are looking at it? Has it been growing over the last few years, or kind of what's the appetite so far been, from what you've seen, in having a program and starting to play against some other schools?
Well, we had some momentum. COVID really hurt it. I'll just say it. I mean, then COVID shut a lot of things down. We had some schools this last year. It was just us in Madison playing each other. And there's, I get some emails saying I'd like to do something. But that's kind of where we're at. And there's another there's another school in Nebraska we've been playing a little bit.
Sure.
And also for some of you, I have a South Dakota Esports Facebook page. I don't know. I got quite a few members there, so I post a lot of things there.
Awesome.
Interested, so just search South Dakota Esports for schools. And I'll join you. You can get some information, I guess, they answer all your questions.
Yeah, I think so. Anything else that you want to kind of add, from your experience, how has it been kind of being the guy in charge and really, just from an experience with your students, how has things gone from when you started now to where you're at?
Biggest thing is I think you got to let go, and you touched that on it, and I touched on it. You got to let go as a coach that you think you're going to be the expert. I'm more of a facilitator.
Yep.
Make sure everyone gets along, stuff is working, and come up, facilitate things. What I'm doing is, and again, I got a support great from admin. They're letting me we have an activities period last period of the school day.
Sure.
And so I'm just doing this esports actually during school.
Nice.
Activities period. Middle school comes down. It's treated like their sport or activity. They have to keep their grades up. They have to do their stuff. And then high school, if they're interested, can come down too.
Very
So
cool.
we got both middle school and high school mixed up. Doing that works out pretty good. I'm pretty stickler on them getting their homework done. We have a late list. I can see everything that they're getting done.
Sure.
If they get too many of them, I kick them out for a couple of weeks, let them go get caught up. So
Sure. Awesome.
Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for just kind of sharing a little bit about what you're doing. If people have questions or kind of want to know a little bit more about how you've got things structured, what's a good way for people to get a hold of you?
Email michael.gehring@k12.sd.us. Just Michael, michael.gohring. And then we'll let you know that the K-12.
Yep.
Or you can ask to join. That's probably the best way. I have quite a few people ask, send me emails. So that'd probably be the best way to start off. So.
Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike. It was good to see you again. Good to hear from you again. And I hope, for those of you who are watching the recording or maybe kind of, tuning in late here, I'd love to kind of get some feedback about where you guys are at in your schools. Drop it in the YouTube comments below. Get a hold of Mike, get a hold of myself. If there's momentum and interest, we'd love to be a part of that and help you out and give you those resources to start your own teams. And it can be small and you can grow it over time. But we'd love to see more schools in South Dakota really, take hold of this opportunity and start their own programs. So just want to say thanks again for all of you who are watching live or after the fact. And Mike, again, thanks for joining us real quick and kind of impromptu panelist. We really appreciate your insight.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody. We will be back again real soon.